Hello and welcome to Global Eye. I'm Parikshit. Luthra. What to expect from the Union budget is perhaps the most buzzing question around investment circles in India and among its partners. The US-India Strategic Partnership Forum has some key asks from the Finance Minister, and these include promoting digital payments, reforms in healthcare and insurance segments, and lastly, simplifying foreign investments. The Centre for Strategic and International Studies recommends expediting settlement of contractual disputes, reducing import tariffs and improving infrastructure for MSMEs for ease of doing business with India. As the budget countdown begins, the curiosity is only increasing about what the budget has in store. To talk more about the expectations, we're joined by Mukesh Aghi, President and CEO of the US-India Strategic Partnership Forum, and Anit Mukherjee, Adjunct Fellow at the Centre for Strategic and International Studies. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. Mukesh Aghi, what would be your top ask from the Indian government when it comes to the budget? What are US investors, businesses looking for?
Parikshit, good to be on your show. It's important to understand India is the chair of the G20. India is the fastest growing economy in the world today. And there is a global disruption in supply chain. That means it's an opportunity for India to target at least $100 billion FDI this year itself. That means we need to have a budget which is much more focused on capital investment, on infrastructure investment, trying to improve supply chain so you're able to get more PLI incentive going for better manufacturing job creation. So what we're looking for is a budget which is focused on growth for the next 10 years. If we want this economy to be a $5 trillion economy or $10 trillion economy, this is the year to set up that pace, momentum, and drive that growth in the economy itself.
Right. Anit, to get you in, CSIS has been doing a lot of analysis on what the budget needs to be doing. We've seen manufacturing share in the GDP falling. Even Rick Rosso from CSIS has pointed out that Make in India has made little progress over the years when it comes to India as a manufacturing destination. What can the budget do? How important is this opportunity to bring reforms to attract China plus investments?
Parikshit, thank you for having me. I think looking at the global picture, I think India is a beacon of stability in a pretty difficult world, let's put it that way. And therefore, I think for global investors, the most important thing is that this budget signals and consolidates that stability. I would be very concerned if this is a really populist budget and we are not keeping track on fiscal consolidation, and that has global implications as well. We need stability in the taxation and the investment regime, and I think in a way the growth story of India being such an outlier in the global economy makes it an attractive destination in any case. Having said that, we mentioned infrastructure for MSMEs. Yes, with the PLI scheme getting some kind of traction, we need to really focus on the enabling infrastructure, which also includes digital payments and things like that. So for me, the ask is keep the macro fiscal condition stable and healthy, and at the same time, try to make sure that what are the enabling infrastructure and tariffs and the other non-tariff barriers that can enable the India to attract the China Plus investment. Just one quick point on the China Plus one. There's a lot of talk on this, and I think we need to understand also that it is in China's interest to move some of this manufacturing abroad. China has, this is the first year that they've officially declared that their population is falling. So there is a huge demographic transition happening within China, and mass manufacturing would be the first thing that probably they would like to move offshore. So there is a confluence of a lot of global factors in play here.
Right. Mr. Aghi, coming to you, when it comes to tax parity, when it comes to transparency in the tax regime, are there any kind of tax concessions or tax cuts that you're seeking for US businesses?
Yes, we are saying that have tax parity. For example, the multinational banks are charged much higher tax than the local banks itself. Basically have a parity there. Have more sense of dispute resolution because what's happening is, yes, government needs to extract as much as tax they can, but at the same time, there has to be a transparent process on dispute resolution. Almost every American company has some kind of a challenge on the tax authorities itself. So we need to have a mechanism to sort those out in a very immediate fashion. So I think our ask is to make it more, rationalize the tax system, make the dispute resolution much smoother and faster itself, and make sure that there's a transparency as you start making different changes in the policy, that there's a consultative process there.
Uh, Anit, you've written about the need for an agriculture PLI scheme. Why is that important? And do you think that is doable in a year which is actually an election year? And there will possibly be a lot of focus on populism.
Excellent question, Parikshit. I think if we look at the three big crises, the poly crisis, as they call it, the food, fuel, fiscal, I think I have addressed the fiscal one in the first question. India's food security depends, and I would say a lot of global food security depends on how agriculture in India performs. And for a long time, we've done a lot of input-based incentives for agriculture. And as I've written in the piece, about 75% of the farmer-related incentives go for PDS and fertilizer subsidy. Now, we need to move from the production to productivity. And that is the key to ensuring long-term food security. Now, yes, there are huge challenges of how do we manage the data, how do we even measure what productivity is in agriculture. But it can be done with a lot of digitization that has happened in land records, with even our fertilizer subsidy being moved to cash transfers. I think there is a huge moment here that we can really push for a strategic view on how we improve productivity. It is also a difficult year, as you said, but some of the more how would I call it, the imaginative solutions come in a last year of a political cycle budget.
Right. Mr. Aghi, coming back to you, when it comes to ease of doing business reforms, are there certain measures that you hope the government would consider that you may have sent in your presentation to the finance minister?
Yes, I think it's important that the companies coming in, investing in the country and creating jobs, they benchmark with the global standards. And I think there is a tremendous amount of improvement we can bring in the ease of doing business. For example, when you are able to try to allocate land or try to get electricity permit, the permit process is so long and tedious that it makes it difficult for a lot of companies to set up manufacturing in India. Yes, there is improvement. When you compare 5 years ago or last year itself, we are moving in the right direction. Simple example, in global supply chain, as we attract China Plus One strategy into India, components are made and they go in and out different geographies and different borders. It is important that we are able to have them move much more efficiently. Studies have shown that when you manufacture in India, one of the bigger costs is logistics. Almost 20% when you compare to China, higher in India. We need to look at how we are able to make the ease of doing business easier, better, so you compete on a global basis. There is a lot of improvement, but there's a lot of way to go to improve much further to have benchmark on a global basis.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Aghi and Anit Mukherjee, for joining us here on this program, giving us your view on what the budget could have in store for foreign investors and what global companies are looking at as well. Thanks once again for joining us. We're going to take a short break here on the program. Don't go anywhere. Lots more coming up on Global Eye.